podcast. We have an amazing special guest. We have Sherry, who is, when I looked at it, I mean, I didn't realize she's so humble, first of all, because when you go bring a guest in and then you go back and look at it, she is just amazing. She is an author, she's a CEO of Medigram. She has actually, helped many other startups to ensure that AI governance, cybersecurity is utmost importance. And I tell you right now, as a Save Life AI founder, cybersecurity was the largest, hardest thing to crack. Not to mention, of course, when we got our FDA approval process, that was huge. So I'm so glad Sherry's here. By the way, Sherry and Ed are besties in this regard. As usual, we're going to go ahead with some updates, and then we're going to let Sherry introduce herself as well, and then we'll go from there. Interestingly, there were one thing, and again, this is Harvey's biggest issue, that data centers are now using big battery to get online faster. So essentially, the biggest issue is that as we're going into, people forget that initially it was a chip, and now it is actually energy. And then, of course, the New York Times story is that how China raced ahead of US on nuclear power. And I will let, when Harvey starts speaking, to comment on that. From a fundraising perspective, Doctronic raised 20 million series for personalized AI doctor to masses. And this is essentially what Ed has been talking about. We're going to see a surge in these kind of available solutions, which is going to surge concierge medicine. That is the favorite topic of Ed. Hydro also similar, raises $45 million for AI agent platform in healthcare. This is a more platform play as compared to this. I'm going to reiterate last time. I've been reading this document, and I think I might just have to do a separate video on this. Fantastic document done, paper. You need to understand what the description, opportunity, examples, how the clinical workflows goes, direct to consumer, business operations, and hybrid. And we're going to hopefully make another thing. So if you're reading JAMA, AI in Healthcare today and tomorrow, please do read this. I'm thoroughly impressed. One other came out from a New England Journal of Medicine, AI, from promise to proof, redesigning clinical workflows. And again, I keep talking about it. It's not about agentic AI. It's just a buzzword. The more point is to understand how you put that into practice. And therefore the moats are actually user experience, clinical, of course, acumen in terms of accuracy. But again, you have to remember physicians are not accurate. It is a process. And the idea is that how do you provide an assistant that is actually provides the right information at the right time, etc. And again, physicians will always be involved. And they actually go through this process. And importantly, and as it is very important to us, that there should be guardrails and responsibility added as well. So this should be important. Number one, this is sponsored content, so be advised. But it is very good content. And then secondly, you should read that to understand how things are going to move forward. Again, one of the things that when we are developing our AI, we are always understanding what the demographic bias would be. And we talked about breast cancer, was a huge problem in terms of breast size, breast density in the population, and how that actually impacted hard problem to solve. But again, these studies in which they are actually comparing deep learning with non-deep learning is an important aspect of when you are designing your AI solutions to understand which proper solution to say. Again, in terms of demographic bias, it's a very good read. And lastly, of course, and one of the key things that I think is important is beyond MQA. And you have seen open evidence making a lot of noise, but at the end of the day, the question really is that how do you produce what we call clinical decision making? And the term we use and FDA doesn't have a pathway yet, but it's called clinical decision support. And I don't like the word clinical decision making, but what I'm saying is that they have actually done that, how to have precise background information, rich information in the background, and how do you actually go from just an QA with an LLM to actually true clinical decision support, decision trees, etc. So very good read, as this is important. Just to remind everyone, our own Harvey Castro is going to be talking at TEDx South Lake on November 9th. So make sure you go to this website. We'll include it in the show notes and everything. And hope you are there to support our very own Harvey Castro for his 5th TED Talk. So would love to you guys to be there. So those were some updates from my side. I'm gonna first let Sherry speak about her experience, all of that, and then we'll start with her bestie, Ed, to start the conversation.
Well, awesome. I'm honored to be here. If I'll just do a quick introduction. I love this combination. It's really the future of medicine, and just what a great group of people. Two awesome physician technologists, and my bestie Ed Marks, who's played just such a huge role in my career and did the two forewords for my two books, Mobile Medicine, Advanced Health Technology, and been just a huge driving force in my career. And so, thank you for being here for me for so many important moments in my career, Ed. So I'm Sherry Duville, CEO of Metagram and chair of the Trustworthy Technology and Innovation Consortium. So what we do is help hospitals and med tech companies build trust infrastructure so that they can deploy AI safely and effectively. And so what that means is building real governance into AI systems so we can manage risk, improve outcomes, and help ensure accountability from boardroom to bedside. And so through TTIC and as co-chair of Trust for IEEE UL 2933, which is a standard for data trust infrastructure, which is used for clinical AI, I work closely with hundreds of engineers around the world with med tech companies and hospitals, and also closely with CIOs, CISOs, clinicians to operationalize trust, to not just write or talk about it, but also build the systems that execute ethics and prove it at runtime, and align the stakeholders that execute it, and not just in theory. So we're also bringing this to AI Med, and you're all going to be there with us. So we look forward to that November 9th through 12th coming up here. And so hopefully we'll dive deeper into some of those topics as well. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And this
Yeah.
is a very dear to me. Dad, can I go first?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so here's my problem, right? I went to Save Life AI. We had physicians, 20 physicians completely did all of the, software in terms of clinical accuracy, all of it, loved it. Went to the C-suite and they said, oh, by the way, we have no idea how to evaluate you properly. I don't know how I have no idea. And this is X, total, the body controls 1,200 to 1,400 providers, depending on how they are scaling. And then I was like surprised that why not? And for me as a founder and a solutions provider, this is becoming a big issue. So how do we, again, we have discussed this before, and I would love to your opinion on it, that how to energize make sure that they actually take this seriously, because we are so ethical, because we are FDA approved, high trust cybersecurity framework, and all of that. We did all of that, but still there seems to be a significant glacial speed. And more importantly, is there a way to improve overall process? Again, that is my problem as a founder that I want your help with, and that's what this podcast is all about. We want signals and symptoms. Signal means cut the noise, come to the actual problem solution, and symptoms, again, putting it back to the patient itself, just to understand that how, if a physician does X thing with AI, how does it improve? Again, most important one in this is patient. So
it sounds like you're trying to improve the velocity of procurement and deal with the procurement
correct.
committees. Do I understand that? Yeah. So I was my husband walked in on me laughing last night. And he's like, because I'm married to a physician. I don't know if Ed told you about that, who has significant administrative experience. So I have that unfair advantage working with me. So he's been a chief medical officer a couple times with a couple health systems, and he is a bona fide genius in also the technical realm, and works very closely with engineering, and has also a lot of technical chops to him. But he's like, what is so funny? And I was just laughing because I had mocked up these different scenarios of when data science and CIOs are misaligned. And I have very good friends who are both AI technologists, like the most leading edge AI technologists, both on the data science side and the AI security side. And Ed and I both have very good friends who are very, we would call very traditional CIOs, right, Ed?
Yes.
and then nary should the two ever meet. and, and I think the reason why you could say that is if you think about the data science team, you think about them, they're in charge of building the rocket that's going to build the future. When you think about building the future, like FTE reallocation, what's going to drive what the C-suite knows is the future of revenue growth, efficiency. But at the same time, the CIO is the one who's in charge of signing the launch permit and in charge of the one and they're the one that goes to prison if the rocket explodes. And so whereas the data science team, they tend to be not as in tune with all the requirements around the launch permit, and they tend to be less in tune with the accountability of the outcomes of those requirements. So that's the tension that we have: is how do we solve the tension of the requirements of and the accountabilities. Is that helpful, Dr. Kalia?
That is beautifully done, and then and beautifully said, and then especially the analogy. I'm gonna push it back to Ed, and then both of you have experiences, and of course Harvey's there. Do you want to just give examples for founders like us how to approach this problem better, or in your opinion, how do I involve you both somehow? So all of that. So Ed, go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking before we even get there, because sometimes towards the end we're in a little bit of rush or we forget. Because I think after people are listening and watching, they're going to be like, how do I connect with Sherry? Because she has so much information. She's a great leader, a great person. So Sherry, if I'm watching now and I've not come across you yet, which is doubtful, but not been able to watch you on a podcast, how do I learn more about Sherry? How do I get Sherry's books? All that kind of stuff. Like I need you to self-promote here so people know how to reach you.
Oh, that's so kind. Well, I regularly, first of all, come see me at AIMed. So register at www.aimed, I think 25.com. Is that right, Harvey?
Yeah, I think that is right.
There. And then November 11th, we've got the best of the best from every domain and function you need to build, deploy, implement, and integrate. And we're going to talk about solving all your problems, because we have people that literally run procurement that are very prominent in driving a lot of the programming at AIMed from 10 a.m. to noon, November 11th. And everybody is invited to the awards that night. And TTIC 25 gets you 25% off registration. And Ed is also running the CFO breakout that night at 5 p.m. and also himself moderating Wednesday, November 12th, the future of AI. And so you can learn a ton. Congrats on your award. Was that last year, Harvey?
Yeah, this was for Entrepreneur of the Year, and I got this last year. And David Kraft and Dr. Chan gave me this.
Congratulations. Cool. I love it. I love it. And so you will transform if you attend this conference, because I know I've had that personal experience as well. And so that is the best way to get in touch with me, to go and register and get 25% off TTIC 25. The second best way to hear from me is to follow me on LinkedIn. And my name actually has a V in it. I was trying to message you guys in the chat box. So DOUVILLE on LinkedIn. And if you click on the bell on my profile, I post there regularly, and that's the best way to kind of follow what it is that I'm sharing with people.
Keep going.
Oh, just I have books on Amazon, as Ed was saying. I'm series editor for Taylor and Francis, and that's I am very committed to building the leadership of our ecosystem, and making sure that hospitals and the MedTech convergence ecosystem are successful, and that patients and clinicians succeed doing what we have to do. So thank
we'll
you.
Put all of these links, including Amazon books, links, etc., into our show notes newsletter when it comes out. So I'm again very grateful, and thanks, Ed, for reminding me I should start doing this more so.
Sometimes we forget or we rush at the end.
I love it. Yeah, that's
And then
yeah.
plus people will be like, I don't want them while Sherry's speaking. I don't want them trying to find all this information because we're going to give it to them. Because and the books are super super practical. That's what I like about Sherry's style. It's not theoretical. It's all like super practical. It's all great stuff. And the consortiums that she's built, the networks with other people like ourselves, is pretty impressive. So definitely check out and follow Sherry. I love Sundays. She posts just good leadership stuff. So highly recommend following her. All right. So I have two questions that are similar, but bifurcated between sort of vendors and providers. So a lot of our listeners, both vendors and providers. So as we know, there's a lot of startups. Everyone's doing something AI. And Sherry, they race, and then all of a sudden they look back and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't take care of X, Y, and Z, which are now my big hurdles." So someone listening who's like early stages or contemplating, what are one or two things? So this is for the vendor side. What are one or two things that an early stage startup should really think about that you see them often sort of ignoring just because they don't know, because they get too excited about the actual solution they're building, like fundamental things that they should think about as they go on this journey?
The most fundamental thing that you should think about is the compatibility in the investor syndicate with the client community. That's the one thing I cannot stress that enough, that I can't say too much, but I would just encourage you to consider who is the buyer, and to really evaluate what investors you would consider talking to based on who the buyer is.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
That's a very good one.
That's pretty deep.
It's that the way that I would rephrase it is, and I talk to a lot of startups. But as a matter of fact, I didn't want to build self-dev AI. Everyone knows that. I just wanted someone to sort of take the understanding, because we created a proper product market fit. But what Sherry is also designing is that at this point in time, and when we are looking at AI, agentic AI, and all of these, and customer experiences, that we need to not just look at product market fit, we need to understand product investor fit as well from the very beginning. And I think that is a very, very important point that honestly I missed. So thanks for highlighting it.
Well, I'm
Go
saying
ahead.
client investor
Yeah, so
fit. Like, so who's the
Because-
client? So for us, like, so we have med tech and we have
Mhm.
hospital, CIO, CFO. So basically what I'm saying is, like, I know a ton of investors, like I even went to high school with some of them, but some of them I can't put in front of hospital board members. Like, Ed knows exactly what I'm talking about. They'll spook them. Like, Ed, you know exactly what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
Ed is cool. Ed can get along with anyone, but Ed has friends and colleagues on boards, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about. People that I grew up in Silicon Valley, I can't put in front of board members and hospitals. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Ed. That's what I mean. Like, it just doesn't work. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to flip it then, and you're right. Sherry, there's really multiple angles. We often think about just like the provider side. I want to say provider, like a hospital-based or payer-based person, and then you have the inventor, the entrepreneur. But yeah, the third leg, and maybe there's more legs, is the investor. So it's this complex triangle, and like I said, there's probably more to it than that. But on the provider side, so as you know, a lot of the looks are like a deer in headlights, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I get all these amazing opportunities by great companies. And what do I do? What are some of what's one or two things that you would advise? Because as you know, there's a handful, right? 10% of the providers, payers, they're ready. They've got all these things in place, which I'm not going to name because I want you to hit on them. They got all these things in place and they're ready and they're going and they're leading. But there's 90% that are still like, so what are one or two things you would recommend to our listeners who are in that space where, like, hey, I'm a leader here in my health system or my payer company, and dang, I know I need to do something. What do I do?
You mean to screen, or what would
to get set up? Like, I know one thing that you're big on is governance. Like, you need to, because again, people are going they're going 100 miles an hour. When they finally do move, they go 100 miles an hour, and then they're like down the road, and then look behind at all the wreckage because they didn't take care of certain fundamentals, and one of them being governance. What are any other items like? And you can speak about governance as well. Like, what do they need to set up in order to be successful?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there. I mean, there's many things that they need to do, to set up to be successful. So I think that there has to be the product and the workflow have to be, I think most failures come when you try to bolt on governance to systems that were never designed, for accountability. And you also have to think about what is the business trying to do. I mean, I think that's the challenge for a lot of health systems and a lot of entrepreneurs, trying to work with the health system. So I think the biggest mistake actually that most boards are trying to make is that they don't need themselves to be AI experts. They need to, so we are going to be coming out with another book to help them. They need to just be asking the right questions. And so I know that this podcast, you guys wanted to talk about equity. And so as part of governance, so the questions would be around the business of healthcare, which is about safety, explainability, equity. So boards need to govern AI the same way they're governing finance, clinical quality, and the way they need to do that is just with a consistency, right? With dashboards, with threshold, with evidence-based oversight. And so what they don't want to do is treat it like innovation experiments. Yeah. They need to be shifting more into a system of record where they're managing with real accountability. And so what we want to do, and what we're starting to do already, is work with boards to integrate AI with oversight in their existing structures. So looking at finance, and I want to talk to you more about this before your CFO breakout, right? So looking at finance, audit, and quality, so not creating additional separate bureaucracy, right? But within their existing board structure and integrating it into that. Is that helpful, Ed?
Yeah, for sure. Because
love it. I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. I think a better way would be product stakeholder fit. And the idea is that, I'm just going to give you one example. So even stuff like as a founder, and by the way, it has been amazing help to me to really structure the messaging appropriately that which stakeholder needs to go. And we have done a CIO framework. We have shown this before in this podcast. I'll send you the sort of that slide deck as well, that there needs to be a proper way for us founders to communicate better to multiple stakeholders who are, think of as an elephant. One is looking at the trunk, another one is looking at the, and we need to make that picture easier. And number two, that you suggested, the point itself is that board members need to understand. And you're so right. I mean, I talk to boards and then they're asking so many odd questions. Like, dude, you really need to concentrate on this. FDA is approved. Don't worry about it. Now you need to figure out, is it going to work in your institute? Because that's what I think about, right? Is the model going to drift? Nobody asked me. That was a more important question if I was sitting there. And again, I do AI, but the idea is that I love it. I'm going to punt now to, again, Ed can finish his comment and then Harvey can ask a question.
No, I think we summed it up nicely. So
I just realized, didn't I introduce you to?
Yes, you
did. Yes.
Yeah. I just realized that.
Okay, let me tell you. So Arlen did a SOAP meeting. He's, by the way, coming in the next few podcasts as well. We're gonna ask him.
I love it.
So Arlen introduced me to Sherry, and then of course we're good friends and everything. We contribute to each other, books, all of that, And then Sherry was at the dinner. And she was so nice. I said, I was walking around. I have an ICU physician. I can't sit. So I was walking around. And then she was like, who are you? I said, I'm this. And she actually introduced me to one person right then and there. That has actually been very useful. And then she told me that, hey, Ed is having a book launch. at South Lake.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to give the address out to everyone. So I went to his house, had an amazing time, met his
And the rest is
beautiful,
history.
yeah, and now we are here. And can you believe it? And then, of course, so Harvey is one of the major things. So anyway, so yes, thank you for that introduction.
You're
I'm
welcome.
extremely
I love it.
grateful, and I love what Ed has brought to the table to me as a as a friend now. To
How
be
can
honest
you
with
not? I love
yes.
this.
So thank you, Sherry, again. Thank you, Ed, again. Harvey, go ahead.
Oh, you're on mute. Unmute.
Harvey, not allowed. Not allowed. You have this. So Ed, why don't you ask while he does the technical fixes?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll definitely give him a second as he makes that transition.
Okay.
So, Sherry, this is one of those tough questions because it's so hard to predict the future, but you've got such a great grounding, your career previously. And I'll drop in the notes some podcasts that Sherry and I have done together a couple of years ago, which goes in depth into who she is as a person, how she was raised, all of her formative years, and all the great expertise that she brings to the table. So we'll drop that in there. But if you're looking forward, and I think we can only go 1 to 2 years, and where do you think we'll be? Like you're back on the podcast in a year or two. Have we transformed healthcare? Is primary care the same as it has been? What changes do you think? And I'm sure you and Art, your wonderful husband, talk about this all the time at the dinner table. So what changes do you foresee in the next 1 to 2 years?
Well, so the big changes that we're anticipating is a lot of consolidation, and we're seeing a lot of convergence with life sciences and large health systems, and that's where we're doing a lot of work personally. We're bringing a lot of that to AI Med with TTIC, and so that's what I can't predict the exact timelines, but within 2 years, we're going to see a lot of manifestation of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm back. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
All right, good. I apologize. My stupid AirPods went out, and then I had to plug them. So here's what I wanted to say. What I'm hearing from 10,000 feet high is working backwards is my favorite phrase. So you guys are identifying the problem, the pain points, and literally working backwards. What is causing the friction? What is causing these things? And you guys are thinking about it and working on it and creating solutions and writing books. And that really makes me really excited. The second thing I want to say is, in AI and medicine, the greatest risk is not dreaming big enough, right? And you guys are doing it. You guys are dreaming big, but with Sherry's husband and your brains and knowing what those friction points are, you're able to push the envelope because you know what can be done now. So I really applaud what you're doing, and I can't wait to see what you're presenting here in a couple of weeks now or less. So I just wanted to say that.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. Well, we do actually execute. I mean, that's our passion. Yeah.
And I would, as I said, I'm meeting Sherry at AI Med November 9th to 11th at San Diego to actually formalize some of these relationships for my company. I would really highly recommend you guys actually looking into that. So going back to number one, future, expand on consolidation and convergence. Number two, AI adoption. What is the most biggest rate limiting factor? And in the next 1 to 2 years, do you see those limiting factors move away?
Well, I think that I think it's actually mindset is the biggest limiting factor, and I push on the team, on my team on their mindset, because ironically, the biggest problem in healthcare is really is misunderstanding idealism, because we are living in an AI economy, and there's a lot about it that probably feels unfair and is not what any one of us personally would design, but you have to accept it for what it is and deal with it and deal with it the best way that any of us know how. And I think what's nice about having communities and a network and a consortium is that there's a lot that you can do. And I will make one recommendation for Greg Sattel, who is a preeminent evidence-based change management scholar of our time, is that there is a lot that you can do when you focus. And he's got a book called Cascades, and we have seen tremendous progress with that, and I highly recommend that book. So we've been focused on helping hospitals align developers, clinicians, patients through shared governance protocols. So that's not just aspirations, that is aligning, to make sure their operations, execute what their aspirations, say. And so the biggest, I call it misplaced idealism is like I think the biggest thing that potentially holds back healthcare. And I know that probably sounds very probably controversial, but I think it has to be said because we have no time to waste. Q2 next year, hospitals are going to get slammed. I was telling Ed, with audits from multiple directions, federally, CMS, state, and then we have the OBA related, the OBA related stuff that comes after that, and we just have no time to waste. And so that's why I'm willing to say the things that probably other people would consider very controversial, because we just have no time to waste. So
this is one of the podcasts that Ed mentioned with Sherry. I will put that in the show notes as well. Please make sure that you go ahead and review that. The history of a person is very important. And then, as you know, as a startup, I can tell you, choosing your advisors is so important. So again, highly recommended, both Ed and Sherry. But more importantly, talking to Ed, why don't you expand as potentially board member of multiple hospitals and talking to more people and CIOs and CTOs, when she uses the word mindset and as one of the rate limiting factor, what in your mind comes in as what is the mindset blocker, and how do you think is going to change over time, especially in the next 6 months? Again, putting into record that there's so many changes from a federal legal perspective, government shutdown, not paying, like it's just a mess. I mean, I've been talking to some CIOs. It's just they're crying their eyes out at the moment because of the reimbursement and everything, and how they're going to do, and where AI can really bring value to them.
Yeah, I think part of that mindset is too much risk aversion. So naturally, healthcare is risk adverse because we have people's lives at stake, and we don't want people doing funky things medically that aren't proven, and as a result will hurt people. So we're steeped in this tradition of risk aversion, and that's what's my opinion, holding us back, whether it's AI or any other type of innovation. We're so risk adverse, everyone's afraid. The other thing, so risk aversion, we could go down that trail for a long time. The second thing is, where are the pioneers? I think a lot of people are, and it goes kind of back to risk. A lot of people are afraid to lose their jobs. And as a result, they're going to play it super safe. I'm going to do what everyone else is doing first. What's the best practice? Oh, I'm going to wait for best practice. And as a result, we just don't move forward. No one's willing to, so when I'm talking to boards right now, I'm telling them, I'm advising them, allow for more risk taking, calculated risk taking. Do not punish people for taking a risk, spending some money, trying to figure something out and failing. It's okay to fail. That's how you innovate. We all know this, but somehow it's lost on us intellectually when it comes down to actually actualizing some of these things. So when I hear about, mindset and stuff, it's all about a lack of pioneering leadership and this over-reliance on risk aversion. Everyone's scared. It's like nothing happens without some pioneer going out there, taking a risk. Yeah, they could end up hurt themselves, because they'll lose their job or whatever. But that's how you make progress. And so, where are our pioneers? And
well, I'll tell you what, Ed. I think sorry to interrupt you.
No,
Please. Well, I just think sometimes it's from outside. Like tomorrow, I'm giving a talk at Stanford to the NICU Collaborative. And one of the biggest examples is Martin Cooney, who brought incubators and they saved thousands of lives. And I'm talking to them about it because, you know, look at the NBA, and they are handling medical devices better than 80% of hospitals. And so we need to, I think, a lot of times look at what's happening outside of healthcare. And
Yeah, for sure.
True,
Yeah, that
truly, yeah. I 100% agree with you. Board mem, and then that's been Ed's main thing. Like you need to create a sandboxes,
yeah.
basically safe areas where you can experiment on a regular basis. Should partner with companies like this. We are happy to share equity even so that we can do testing first. If you're ethical, you want to have access to the sandbox. So the idea is that the risk aversion is important. I'm just going to be an honest. I'm a neurointensivist. I've seen some technologies that are killing people rather than helping. So don't get me wrong. As a director of neuro ICU, director of stroke, I had to actually make those choices personally. But what I'm saying is that I think in this age of AI, you need to basically partner. And I think you should have equity exchange partnership. And then more importantly, their success becomes your success by giving access to sandboxes. And there should be talking to people like Sherry that can build up AI governance around a sandbox too. Because this way you are not just risk averse, you're medically legally safe. So I think people like Sherry and Ed are extremely important in that regard. As we go along, I think when she uses the word pioneers, of course, I find myself as pioneer entrepreneur. What we need is pioneership, entrepreneurship spirit within the board and the C-suite. But again, being one of those on the other side of the table, I'm just going to tell you that it's just so hard. And I
Yeah.
think the sandboxing idea of Ad Marks and even Lighthouse now is probably the best approach moving forward, providing a medical legal cover as we go along. Um, Sherry, Ed talked about two major things. What is founders having issues in terms of product stakeholder fit, right? That's a huge, like it's a big, not product investor fit, but product stakeholder fit. And then that's one, two, and three, and everything. Uh, and then now we come back to the again board members. Let's say Stanford that you gave an example to. Mayo Clinic actually has that I know of a complete data access and complete walled garden where they can actually experiment. Even larger, other Boston, and there's so many systems, Ascension, Aurora. I mean, you can name it. There are so many huge systems. None of them are truly developing this. Is it just a lack of leadership, lack of understanding, or something else I'm missing? Or how would you go and tell them you should do this?
well, so my suggestion is that if we want AI to scale safely, that we have to stop treating governance as overhead, and we have to treat it as infrastructure. And so that what our goal is, because we have a lot of the top systems coming to AI Med. We've got a Mayo Clinic platform, we've got Vanderbilt, University of Michigan Medicine, we've got Stanford Biodesign, University of Utah. And so our goal is that they would all have a chief AI officer playbook that they're participating in, and would feel that once they participated in, they would be able to take it back and be able to implement it, and and have that confidence to be able to then carry it forward. That was our whole goal with AI Med. That and does that help answer your question? Because I think it's just that's why I like conferences, because conferences are actually really hard. You think it's just talking, but it's actually you actually have to package it. It's like that old adage, I would have written you a letter, but I didn't have time. You know, Ed knows exactly what it is, and I admire Ed so much because he's one person I can drop ship into any conference with no time, and he'll perfectly perform and self market and everything full stack. But it's actually really hard to package and position and deliver for a conference, because you have to have everything fully comprehended and fully understood, which is why it's hard to find speakers. And so that's my goal, is to have this cohort of leading institutions fully up to speed on a chief AI officer toolkit. That's the whole reason why I agreed to chair a track. And so the goal is that once they get through AI Med, that they will be able to operate and actualize a chief AI officer motion and be able to, you know, to move that forward in their systems. That's the whole point of it.
So I'm going to demonstrate to Harvey in a bit a software solution that actually goes through any vendor and then communicates with 5 different, things. And then Harvey, what do you think? Should we build a software solution? Because you always have like, how do we solve the solution and make a goddamn company out of it? So what I'm saying is that, Harvey, do you think this is a problem enough that we should have a separate company called AI Governance? That's a software solution web app that a CFO logs in, looks at a different sort of elephant picture, a CMO, and all of that. What I'm saying is that let's just go back and put that pioneering spirit. Hey, who is that?
I love dogs.
It's our AI dog. I actually saw, Janae, I'm sorry to interrupt your flow.
No, go ahead.
You're onto something, but I should have taken a picture, but I just didn't want to. But I was walking, where was I? I was in some city recently. It was Kansas City, actually. And I was walking to a meeting before I was speaking, and there was a gentleman walking down the street with an AI dog. I don't know if you've seen them yet. They're like, they're the size of a dog, but they're motorized. And they have personality. You can give them commands. And he was walking down the street, and I was like, I should take a picture, but then I don't want to feed that. I just didn't want to feed that at that point. So I didn't take a picture, but I thought that was interesting. So soon we'll find, right? Because a lot of people find dogs very therapeutic for a wide variety of reasons, maybe anxiety or what have you. And so now they're having these AI dogs. I had never seen one.
Yes.
It's funny. I wrote an article about 3 years ago about AI pets and how it could help the elderly, remind them of their medicine, fall risk, like a whole thing. So I'm happy to see, that, it's a thing.
It's a thing. Sorry, Junaid, you were talking about.
Yeah, no, I think this is becoming like honestly a problem for most people, and then I think we feel like, okay, they're not spirited enough or engaged enough for innovation in AI. But if I look at it, I mean, it's just goddamn hard for them to find time. I mean, we need to make it easy for them. I think there needs to be a very simple software solution. It could be free, to be honest with you. But the idea is that AI governance needs to be, and then they can see, exchange notes. Why does Stanford has to go through all the work again, and then Mayo has to go through the whole work again, then University of Utah has to go through the whole work again? If you have already done it, for God's sake, share your intelligence. So, Harvey, do you think this is a good idea, or I'm up to farting brain farts?
No, this would be great. At the end of the day,
I just want to. I need to jump in, and I don't want to. I don't. It's very challenging because I don't know if you've heard of an organization called CHAI, but I can see Harvey shaking his head, but they've had a lot of success with 3,000 members, but there's been a big challenge with the Trump administration trying to, challenge them. They had Mayo Clinic involved in a lot of the health systems, and so it's very hard to do. And so I encourage you to look into it and don't reinvent the wheel. But if you're going to do so what we're doing at TTIC, it's nonpartisan, and it's ANSI accredited, which means a lot. And so that's why I'm a huge proponent of not reinventing the wheel. It's already been 317 engineers in.
Oh wow! I didn't know about that. So you said CHAI. How do you pronounce it?
No, I'm not talking about what CHAI did. So that's that. I think what I'm trying to say is that's why the importance of. I'm grateful to Anthony Chang. It's because the reason why we're chairing this track is because I convinced him not to reinvent the wheel. because
Mm-hmm.
we're bringing what IEEE did to AIMed, because it's
Mm-hmm.
based on 317 engineers in 22
Wow.
countries with an ANSI accredited process, which is legally protected, which means that since we're legally protected, probably no one's going to really attack us from a political standpoint. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I'm just saying it's not likely to happen. Whereas when you have other kinds of processes, they do get attacked because they don't have a lot to stand on, right? Which is why I'm grateful for all of the leaders I've learned from that have taught me how to engage in these types of processes. Because at TTIC, we're about to release another, because we partnered with another organization on a hospital AI operations governance standard, which is also ANSI accredited. So at TTIC, we only do ANSI accredited standards because they're legally protected. Because then that way, honestly, political and legal departments of aggressive vendors can't attack us. And so I highly recommend, that this is a thing that physicians don't spend a lot of time in medical school,
Correct.
which I understand, thinking and talking about politics and legal stuff, but right now it's like front and center. Like everything is politics, legal, and finance. That's like all of healthcare. Right, Ed? That's like your whole board meeting.
Yeah.
It's like 90%
Harvey,
the board agenda, right?
I agree. Harvey, from AI and space perspective, you're now officially part and parcel, and now you have a complete industry comparison, which is also, I believe, heavily regulated. I mean, not
Yeah.
as heavily regulated as healthcare or fintech, but is heavily regulated. So bring your experience from that side, since you're now in the weeds of that. And then, what do you see a clear difference? Because there's no other person, by the way. Sher, did you know he's actually a chief AI engineer of Phantom, and
Yeah.
chief AI advisor. So it's insane, like what Harvey does, by the way. So anyway, long story short, when you compare to me, give me that, like, I feel
Yeah.
like as a physician scientist, AI, developer, I sometimes get bogged down with
Yeah.
bureaucracy, red tape, all of this legal, medical, legal. What do you see industry difference?
Yeah. So a
And
couple
why
things.
why why the goddamn did you leave healthcare for space? Huh? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So exactly. So on your other business idea, I have an idea for you that we could do a spin and it'll work and it'll make everything happy and it'll still be a good thing.
Mhm.
On this question, I am the chief AI officer for a space company. We do satellites, rockets, and literally we are working on data centers in space. So all that news that's been in the press, we have a patent on it and we have literally been working on this. I'm really excited. As far as perspective, you'll like this. Sometimes solutions, we're biased because we look at things and literally we look at it with the perspective of here on earth or and I have a whole TED talk on our senses and how our senses limit us to what we can imagine. But if we can leverage AI, if we can look at it with a different perspective, i.e. leveraging AI to hear better, see better, then I'll be able to do more because my perspective has changed. Going to outer space, being able to do things from space literally changes things. Quick example, how does it change things is if we have problems on Earth and we're using solutions on Earth, what if we applied it from a space, a different perspective, literally, an angle? So one example would be um, being able to have a satellite going around the Earth and then being able to pick up that there's an increased amount of mosquitoes. And because of that, we can do predictive analytics and say, you know what, we're going to see a spike in malaria in this area. And we can go to the supply chain and say, hey, we need more drug X for this that is coming. So that angle is kind of what I'm seeing and doing. And because I'm literally traveling around the world, I'm able to see different cultures and how they're implementing AI against how US is doing it. So it's really given me a literally a world view.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. So my next TEDx talk in a couple of weeks is going to be how space can be leveraged on Earth and help humanity.
Yeah, it's like the baby incubators at Cornell.
Yeah. And unfortunately, oh, there you go. You were froze there. Well, I know we only got
Okay.
like 7 minutes left.
I do know that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to close and then leave the last word to Ed here. Again, I would really highly appreciate that you follow Sherry on LinkedIn, follow the Trustworthy Technology Innovation. This is extremely important in the future as we go along. And then I will put that in the show notes as well. And then Ed, last question and close.
Yeah, again, Sherry, thank you so much for being our guest, and thank you for being the connector of many of us, and all that you're doing to further healthcare and help our humanity. Because yeah, that's the other thing Sherry brings to all this is, not only does she have the science, but she's just a good human, and she's a good person to connect people, and very
Amazing generosity.
very
Let
kind.
me add
Yeah,
that.
very very generously. What's been the one thing that gives you hope for the future based on what we've seen, as hard as it is, and all the politics and all the stuff that happens in life? But what's one thing, in all your studies and all the people you're coming across and all the things that we have the potential to do, what's one thing that gives you the most hope?
Well, yeah, that I mean, I just that just just human resilience. It really does give me hope, and that's why I told this group about Cascades. We have had lots of stunning, tremendous outcomes from leveraging Cascades. A lot of career outcomes from the group. Um, within TTIC, and a lot of advancements.
Yeah,
I won't list them all here, but I think you've been following the group for a while, and
yeah,
you've been part of it, and you've been an accelerant. So thank you for that. And I mean, we've had a lot of the reason why we have so many great people coming is, in a lot of ways, the industry had been on life support, and we can't take the credit for a lot of extraordinary people, but we were able to help a lot of the top people, you know, really find their best at a very difficult time, and give them the frameworks, the taxonomy, the ability to be their best, and that feels really good, and it's the right thing for the patients, for their institutions, and 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 just a tremendous impact for many many lives, and for their careers, and
yeah.
it fires me up, and so that really
That's
very rewarding.
yeah, that's awesome. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you
Next
welcome.
week, we are having Arlen Myers coming, who's going to be talking at AI Med. Sherry's good friend, Ed's good friend, mine, and Harvey's good friend. So stay tuned for the next week as well. I'm extremely grateful that you joined. And then you
You.
guys, please make sure that the upload goes happen. And as usual, thank you so much, Sherry, for coming, and Ed for introducing, Sherry for introducing to Ed and all of us. And once you're in Dallas, we are trying to figure out something with AI Med and Anthony Chang to actually do the American Board of Medical, training here in Dallas physically. We're
Oh,
working
that'd
with
be
some
fun.
sponsorships and partners and everything. So next year we're planning so that we have something in Dallas as well, and not everything in California, which is again a Dallas problem. Just kidding.
No,
So
that would
we're
be fun.
gonna.
I would actually love if we could do it. Could we do it in Dallas? AI Med in Dallas instead of Florida next year?
There we go. I'm gonna plant the seed with Chang.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome. I would
Middle of
love
the
that.
country. Let's
Because
go.
who needs to do it in Florida? No one needs to do it in Florida.
Yeah.
Let's do it in
Exactly.
Dallas. That would be awesome. But you guys will update my spelling of my name.
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
thank you so much. I had so much fun. Thank you for hosting me. Yeah.
No,
Thanks for
thank you so
coming.
much for coming
Thanks for your
again.
time.
Everyone, just stay behind for 5 minutes, just making sure that everything is recorded. Everyone, see